India's relationship with interfaith marriage is a reflection of its centuries-old tapestry of cultures, religions, and social hierarchies. To truly understand the present landscape, it is crucial to explore how historical norms, legal frameworks, and recent political developments converge to shape the contemporary discourse around these unions. For much of its history, India has stood as a beacon of diversity. Its landscape is dotted with temples, mosques, churches, and gurdwaras, a testament to the coexistence of Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, Jains, Buddhists, and others. Yet, beneath this surface of multiplicity, social boundaries have long been drawn with clear, sometimes rigid lines. The caste system, with its deep roots and religious divisions, have historically discouraged marriages that cross these lines. While it would be incorrect to say that interfaith marriages never occurred, they were typically rare and, when they did take place, often involved urban elites, royals, or those living in cosmopolitan environments. For the vast majority, societal taboos and the threat of ostracism acted as powerful deterrents against unions that defied tradition. The tide began to shift somewhat after India gained independence in 1947. In the spirit of building a modern, secular democracy, lawmakers introduced the Special Marriage Act of 1954. This legislation was groundbreaking for its time, providing a legal avenue for individuals from different religions to marry without requiring either party to convert. The act was intended to safeguard the freedom of choice and to foster a sense of national unity that transcended religious and caste boundaries. However, even this progressive law was not without its challenges. The requirement for a 30-day public notice before the marriage could be solemnized, supposedly a measure for transparency, often exposed couples to harassment, family pressure, and sometimes violence. The last decade has seen this landscape undergo a dramatic transformation, particularly under the governance of the Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP. The BJP, with its platform of cultural nationalism and emphasis on preserving Hindu identity, has overseen the passage and proposal of several laws that specifically target interfaith marriages. The term Love Jihad, which first gained currency in right-wing circles, has become the rallying cry for legislative and social campaigns against marriages between Muslim men and Hindu women. The theory alleges, without credible evidence, a concerted effort by Muslim men to convert Hindu women through marriage. States such as Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, and Rajasthan have enacted or proposed stringent measures in response to these fears. Uttar Pradesh's prohibition of unlawful religious conversion ordinance, first enacted in 2020 and amended in 2024, is emblematic of this approach. The law mandates that any individual seeking to convert for the purpose of marriage must notify the district magistrate a full 60 days in advance. It empowers state authorities to investigate the intent behind the conversion, and if deemed coercive or fraudulent, severe penalties, including lengthy prison sentences, can be imposed. Family members are given the explicit right to object, and in some cases, press charges. Rajasthan, following suit in 2005, introduced a bill that not only criminalizes conversions for marriage, but also allows family courts to annul such marriages entirely. These legal developments are not occurring in a vacuum. They are deeply intertwined with social attitudes that remain, by and large, averse to interfaith unions. A 2025 survey found that 61% of respondents opposed interfaith marriages, a statistic that starkly illustrates the persistence of traditional views. For many, concerns about the preservation of religious and cultural identity outweigh arguments about individual freedom or constitutional guarantees. Critics of these new laws argue that they represent a profound infringement on personal liberty, particularly for women, who are often portrayed as needing protection from manipulation or coercion. The laws, they argue, disproportionately target Muslim men, fostering an atmosphere of suspicion and stigmatization. The requirement for state approval and the possibility of criminal charges create a climate in which couples are forced to navigate not only family opposition, but also the threat of legal persecution. Rights activists and legal scholars warn that such measures erode the secular foundations on which modern India was built. The implementation of the Uniform Civil Code, UCC, in Uttarakhand in January 2025 adds another layer to this evolving narrative. By standardizing personal laws across all religions, the UCC seeks to create a single legal framework for matters such as marriage, divorce, and inheritance. Proponents argue that this is a necessary step toward true equality before the law. Detractors, however, caution that in practice, the UCC often reflects the norms of the Hindu majority, potentially overriding the practices and beliefs of religious minorities. The result, critics say, is an erosion of religious freedom and an entrenchment of majoritarian values. The real-world effects of these laws are tangible and troubling. In Uttar Pradesh alone, hundreds of cases have been registered under the anti-conversion ordinance, with over 1,000 individuals arrested. Yet, convictions are rare. Many cases collapse when alleged victims retract their statements, or courts find insufficient evidence of coercion. Nonetheless, the process itself, marked by police investigations, public scrutiny, and social stigma, can be punishing for those involved. The mere act of filing a case can serve as a powerful tool of harassment, deterring others from pursuing similar unions. The Special Marriage Act, too, has become a double-edged sword. While it theoretically offers protection to interfaith couples, the requirement for public notices and the possibility of objections create opportunities for interference and vigilantism. In practice, many couples are forced to go into hiding or to seek legal recourse against their own families. The 2017-18 Hadia case, in which the Supreme Court of India ultimately upheld a woman's right to choose her partner and her religion, stands as a rare victory for personal liberty. Yet, it also underscores the challenges that individuals face when their choices run counter to social or familial expectations. Supporters of the new laws argue that they are necessary to protect vulnerable individuals, particularly women, from exploitation and coercion. They claim that the threat of forced conversions is real and that the state has a duty to intervene. For many, these measures are seen as a defense of tradition and social stability in the face of rapid change. The broader question, whether India is 100 years behind modern society, invites a nuanced answer. From a socially progressive or liberal democratic perspective, laws that restrict the right of adults to choose their partners based on religion are seen as antithetical to modern ideals of individual autonomy, secularism, and gender equality. In this view, India's recent trajectory is regressive, representing a retreat from the pluralistic vision enshrined in its constitution. From a cultural conservative perspective, however, these laws are seen as a legitimate response to anxieties about identity and cohesion in a rapidly changing society. They reflect a belief that tradition and community values deserve protection, even at the expense of individual choice. At its core, the conflict over interfaith marriage in India is a microcosm of a broader struggle, a struggle between the competing claims of individual rights and collective identity, between secular ideals and religious or cultural conservatism. India is not unique in facing these tensions. Many democracies around the world are grappling with similar issues, whether in the form of debates over multiculturalism, immigration, or the limits of personal freedom. The future direction of India's approach to interfaith marriage will depend on several key factors. Youth activism and education have the potential to shift attitudes over time, as new generations bring fresh perspectives to old debates. The independence of the judiciary will be crucial in safeguarding constitutional rights in the face of political pressure. The role of the media, both traditional and digital, will shape public discourse, highlighting abuses or injustices, and providing a platform for voices that might otherwise go unheard. Ultimately, political accountability will determine whether laws are reformed to better reflect the values of a diverse and dynamic society. In the final analysis, India stands at a crossroads. The gains of the past, progressive laws, constitutional protections, and the slow but steady expansion of personal freedoms are under threat from a wave of legislation that prioritizes collective identity and tradition over individual autonomy. Yet, the story is not one of unmitigated decline. The resilience of those who continue to fight for their rights, the willingness of courts to challenge unconstitutional provisions, and the ongoing debates within civil society all point to a nation that remains deeply engaged with the question of what kind of society it wants to be. Interfaith marriages in India are thus both a reflection of its past and a barometer of its future. They reveal the fault lines that run through its society, between old and new, between community and individual, between fear and hope. As India continues to evolve, the choices it makes in this arena will speak volumes about its commitment to the ideals of freedom, equality, and justice for all its citizens.